YouTube, what it do is your boy Benji, and we are back balling. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe. We love all things entertainment this way, and hey, this is WWE in between the ropes. They've gotten a special part in my heart, and can't lie, we are on the heels of a solid SmackDown episode, so it's only right that we continue to follow this up with some solid hoops this time around. And I say hoops because their boys is out there balling today. I can't lie. Another solid episode of Raw. I mean, look, in comparison to what we've been getting, I hate that I have to like grade on that metric, but it wasn't bad. I mean, wrestling is almost back at the point where it should be. It should be lighthearted. It should be fun. It should be entertaining, exciting, and at the very least, we should be able to see these guys get into it. I think this is the perfect time of the year to have a lot of the acts, a lot of the wrestlers going at it, interacting with one another, and having moments. And that's what we got this episode. I'm going to get into it. So if you were watching this instead of paying attention to the NBA Finals, I mean, that's what it is. I'm not going to lie. I've got it on a split screen right now, so I'm checking out NBA Finals too. Subscribe to Hoops HQ. We'll be talking hoops over there. But the episode opens up with Liv and Dom, the greatest couple in all time. Anyways, Liv reminds everybody that this is her division and that no one paved the way to her. This is obviously alluding to Nikki Bella and the chants, the rants, and the absolute bickering that went underway on social media after Nikki Bella made her appearance. And look, I'm not mad that she mentioned this. I'm glad that somebody actually said it. She mentioned that she never got her Women's Championship rematch, which I think is true. She never was awarded that opportunity. We got to see a Rhea match up against her plenty times. So it's only right that she voices how she's been disrespected. She's not mentioned amongst the greats, nor is she given an opportunity to continue to cement her name amongst the greats, because when she loses her championship, she doesn't get another match. Rhea literally signed her name on a contract that didn't have her name, and she was awarded another opportunity. So she begs Io to come out there and give her what she wants. And Io does. Io obliges and shows up. She lets Liv know that all she does is whine and show disrespect. And I'm not going to lie, Liv is not only a great heel, but she's entertaining while she does it. And I think that's why I think the crowds have kind of lend their arms and their hearts and their support to Dirty Dom and Liv. They're entertaining, bro. She's like, if you're scared, you can just go ahead and give me the belt. Like, you know, I'm cool with that. That's cool. Like, we don't even got to do this match. But she does allude to some truths. She is one of the women who've been able to take down Liv Morgan. I'm sorry, Io Sky multiple times. So I think this is dope. And then Io does oblige. She's like, you know what? Fine. You want this match? You got it. You want this belt? You got it. She gives her the belt and then drop kicks her. And looks like we gonna get Liv against Io. I'm not quite sure if they addressed exactly when this is gonna happen though. The next segment was full of a lot of aura. I mean, we had La Primera. Stephanie VAQUER shows up, and we had her versus Raquel versus Ivy, NILE, and ASUKA. Obviously, I hate to break the news to you guys, but this was the return of ASUKA. And I ain't gonna lie, she came out there with some dope paint. I mean, I really liked that. You know, she not only had her traditional look, but she had it kind of draping down into her chest. So I think that was kind of dope. She came out there, of course, sported the knee brace, and she did return to her old music, which had a lot of people excited. I do like that there was a lot of moments in this match, and I can't even lie, like a lot of people are being critical of the content, or at least the matches that we've been seeing in the women's division. I'm not gonna lie, this is pretty solid. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Stephanie VAQUER is super good in the ring. She's entertaining to watch. I can't lie, like she just gets it. She gets after it. But yeah, I thought it was super dope to watch these women get after it, and I mean, of course, there's a lot of like nimbleness and like grittiness and technique that goes on amongst majority of these women in this match. And of course, Raquel comes in and she's just like, bro, I'm here to wreck house. And I do like that the announcers were able to talk about that. Now, Stephanie VAQUER does eat a huge Tahana bomb. And right before we hear the 3 on the 1, 2, 3 count, Rhea Ripley, for some reason, interrupts and like just absolutely destroys Raquel Rodriguez with a riptide right outside the ring. And then throws her back into the ring so ASUKA can do this flying butt move, which I guess is her new finisher. This is the Empress Impact. So ASUKA gets her 1, 2, 3 and wins. We then follows up with an upset New Day backstage. This is crazy. So not only do we get the New Day first coming out and talking about how bad the tag team division is and it lists unworthy squads. Judgment Day is one of these squads. But, I mean, if you really weren't in the U.S., you didn't get to see that moment, so not really going to worry about it. End of the day, the Judgment Day is in shambles. Liv Morgan comes back there in order to address Raquel and say, hey, she wants an opportunity against Io, so she wants, Raquel's support. And she heads over to talk to the general manager. He was the standing general manager, Nick Aldis. So this episode had absolutely no structure to it, because that's what Nick Aldis does. Anyways, Raquel's sitting there with an ice pack on, and she's like, yo, I'm like not even clear to do anything. Like, what are we doing? And Liv's just frustrated. She's like, it doesn't matter. I'm going out there. So she does. And Finn is just grinning while all this is happening. And JD's like, I don't even know what's going on right now because you set me against, you set me up with a match against AJ Styles. And Dom's like, yo, remember, I gave Finn the opportunity to eliminate AJ Styles, but he didn't. So this is what we're going to do now. Kind of repeat what we've seen in weeks prior. I mean, remember, right before Dom got the belt, that's kind of what we saw, but whatever. He does allude to how everything's going to be all right. And he wants Roxanne's help to kind of make sure everything's cool. Unfortunately, our ring general is losing aura. This dude shows up with the belt that he freshly won off of Jey Uso last week. And he did admit that Jey Uso was the better man at WrestleMania. But every other night he's untouchable, which he should be, but it's hard to believe this because we haven't seen Gunther fight anybody over the last year, and in the matches that he did fight, it was all a struggle. I mean, even if we're talking about the match against Pat McAfee, even if we're talking about the match that he had against Alpha Academy, I mean, literally, it's just tough to believe it. So I don't really know what are we seeing from Gunther? I don't understand how this is supposed to be our ring general. I don't understand how this is supposed to be the guy that's super feared and spent nearly 85% of his career as a champion. Again, he struggled to beat Pat McAfee, and then he beat Jey Uso, which is cool. I mean, again, this is like a best of 7 series. It's only right that it goes in this direction, but for some strange reason, it's back on Gunther's shoulders, and he's trying to prove to us that he's just Mr. Dominant. Anyways, he's interrupted by Goldberg, which to me is just sick. I do not understand why these old heads just can't have had their moments and go home. Oh, Goldberg's barely walking straight, dude. Brother, go home. Why do you have to fight our ring general? Again, this is one of those matches where I start to get confused. Well, yes, it's a dope, nostalgic moment, but Goldberg's been washed for years. And at this point, he's absolutely out of shape. I don't care. The only strange thing that, is brought up in this match, which Santi Zap has alluded to, is that when you have Goldberg in a match, it's very likely that he can win. And he can win quickly. He's notorious for having those 2-minute matches. So he doesn't really have to be in shape. But then again, if Gunther were to lose in 2 minutes, I ain't gonna lie. We ain't got nothing to talk about to Goldberg. I don't want to see Gunther anywhere near a championship belt. And then if Gunther has a match where he beats Goldberg, it's kind of this is what should have happened if you were to cement yourself as somebody who is the ring general. It's a pointless match. I get it. We're going to, use this to try and fodder up some tickets for Atlanta. But in the grand scheme of things, it's dumb because we just saw Gunther win and then get a championship belt right back in the first opportunity that he was awarded a championship match to then have his first opponent be Goldberg. There's nobody else. Is there literally anybody else in the backstage that Gunther could fight against other than Jey Uso? Dude, this is likely going to be another match in the meantime before we get Night of Champions and then the winner of the King of the Ring fights against Gunther again. There's no actual way that we're really about to get another rundown of Jey Uso and Gunther. This is literally just pointless. We were supposed to have seen this great growth from Gunther after being defeated. We should have seen this great growth from Jey Uso after being defeated. Yet we got neither from either. And Gunther does this stupid thing Well, actually, he's the only smart one in this scenario because he listened to the crowd chants where they're like, Goldberg, Goldberg, Goldberg. He's like, no, that dude would never. I embarrassed him in front of his whole family. And then Goldberg brings it up. It's like, you, months ago, you embarrassed me in front of my family. It was like, he did, but did you just sit at home, like, bang your head against the wall because Gunther talked about you in front of your kids or something? I don't understand how that, like, works. I mean, it's wrestling, which is cool, but, I mean, you held this in for months? So we're really about to see Gunther, instead of him fighting against Rusev, instead of him fighting against Sheamus, instead of him fighting against anybody of substance, Bronson Reed, somebody, Seth Rollins at the very least, we're getting him fighting against a 90-year-old man. This is where the show loses me. Not only is the tag team division looking abysmal, nobody cares about the New Day, which is unfortunate because, again, when we saw one of the greatest swerves on a heel turn in a long time, they was followed up with absolutely nothing. All we got from them was moments in which we saw these dudes get booted out of the backstage, which I guess I'm not upset them having funny moments, but now we're supposed to take them serious as a dominant tag team when we literally didn't take them serious because they never even got an opportunity to talk, explain themselves, or even assert themselves as bad guys. So this is terrible. This is terrible. World Heavyweight lineup looks crazy. Tag team lineup looks crazy. Women's tag team lineup looks crazy. But Gunther's next. We then got AJ Styles versus JUDGEMENT, which in the end of the day was like a dope little match. Some great moments, some great counters early on when the two went at it. We got to see Dom trying to do all he could in order to try to help JUDGEMENT. Yet Dom was not successful because AJ Styles was able to get to the top rope, and after a crazy counter from JUDGEMENT that he tried to put into a roll-up, he gets hit with a Styles Clash. The Judgment Day boys try and jump this dude AJ Styles, but it leads nowhere because later in the show, after stealing the belt, AJ Styles goes to Nick Aldis, and Nick Aldis is like, I got you, match against Dom at Night of Champions, which I'm not upset against. I'm not upset about that. I'm not upset about that. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be tough to try and build this match because this is kind of a repeat of what we thought was going to happen a few weeks ago. Yet it didn't. And the crowd doesn't let Dom talk. And, I mean, AJ ain't really got nothing to say. So it at least might be a solid moment in the ring. We then had Bayley show back up and address the crowd, which initially started off kind of rocky because the crowd was booing her and people were in the crowd shouting that nobody cares. But honestly, why should they? But the crowd is fickle because instantly she turned the crowd into cheerers. She mentions being robbed of an opportunity that she cared dearly about, which I thought was crazy because you literally became a tag team partner just within a couple of days after fighting against Lyra. So you were offered an opportunity that you never really rightly deserved, but you cared dearly about it, whatever. I will say Becky did at least a little bit of planning here to try to catch some heel heat because she showed up in a Chicago Bears jersey and the crowd booed her and talked trash about the Bears. She did mention a couple things that I do deem as facts. I mean, she mentioned how she stopped fighting for the people and that helped her. And at the end of the day, Bayley should follow her lead because no one cared when she was hurt. They cheered her, but when she was gone, they just went on to the next person. Which is true. People were like, I don't know what happened to Bayley. And a couple people online that created some discourse about how Bayley's just not awarded the opportunity she should. She just put her foot down. And Bayley did kind of allude to this as well as Becky. Yet, I mean, again, I think this kind of just wasn't done right. I think I don't know. This is where I start to kind of get upset about, I think the lack of creativity here. I mean, we could have seen, moments where, I don't know, we had some candid footage. We could have seen the moments where Becky's trying to come back. I didn't really understand the way that this went down because after this promo, Bayley does address Lyra backstage after Lyra catches her talking to Nick Aldis. And she's like, look, Lyra, I know I texted you and you didn't respond, all this other stuff. Or more so, you texted me and I didn't respond. I ignored your text. But it was all for good purpose, all for good reason. I had a lot of things going on. I had to look out for myself. And Lyra was like, yeah, there's no problem. But just know I got to look out for myself too. Now, this could mean something. But again, this is was kind of thrown under the rug for the last 2 months. So I think, again, this is where it suffers, where something could have developed in Bayley that I think a lot of the crowd could have been excited to see. So, like, when she comes out and addresses the crowd, this could have some meaning. Because had Becky not came out, I think it means nothing. No one would care. Okay, you got attacked. You were supposed to be in the match. I mean, who's to say you would have won? Who's to say you would have lost? You know what I mean? So, like, in the world, it doesn't make any sense for you to really be upset at anyone other than Bayley. I mean, other than Becky. Becky can just say, I just wanted my moment, and you was at the end of the day standing in the way of my moment. But again, I don't know. So, like, at its core, it's really, really simple, but I think there could have been so much more creativity. But anyways, yeah, they got a match next week. So, again, like, kind of a waste of time because this could have been nicely built up, but unfortunately, they have a match next week, and that's just what that's going to be for the championship, too. We did get a Sami Zayn promo backstage, too. He was talking on the mic, and he was quickly interrupted by KARRION KROSS. And KARRION tells Sami that he's going to lose to Randy. Sami's supposed to be fighting against Randy in order to try and advance the tournament, but he'll always be a zero because he will not beat Randy Orton. And I think many of us in the crowd kind of believe that to be true as well. But yet Sami, for some strange reason, starts throwing names and calls KARRION KROSS a coward. Because he will talk to everyone about anything, stand in the background, but he's scared of getting in the ring. Now, I will say, when Sami Zayn cuts these promos, his passion is evident. He talked about the priorities, which are winning King of the Ring. And then as soon, and he like accentuates that multiple times, as soon as this is over with, he's going to challenge KARRION KROSS. That's dumb. We know you're not going to win it, so like, are we just going to get Sami Zayn losing, and then this is going to like lead itself to a match against KARRION? Or what are we going to get? Is this going to mean Sami Zayn wins and then fights against the champ and loses or wins? Like, I don't really know what that means. I don't understand why he challenges KARRION KROSS to the ring to the match, but it's a match we're probably not going to see for weeks. I don't know. But anyways, Kairi Sane was supposed to fight against Liv Morgan, and Liv, I think, got injured in the middle of the match, so I don't know what this means for Liv Morgan. She's challenging for single championships. She's challenging right now people against her best interests, which you would think be just kicking back and waiting until somebody asks her for a tag team title match. But they're not, because, again, all the tag teams got buried. And the only other tag team of substance was Becky and Lyra, but they're no longer a tag team. Then it would have been Bayley and Lyra, but they're no longer a tag team. So, man. Anyways, we got Bronson Reed versus Sheamus versus Rusev versus Jey Uso. Prior to the match, Kathy tells Jay about his minor setback last week, which was him losing the championship, which is not a minor setback or whatever. But as the match kind of gets into it, there's a bunch of dope sequences. Of course, the guys all in the ring were hard-hitting guys. And it was a couple of those sequences where everybody got their offense in, which I think was dope. Sheamus got his beat to the baldron. Rusev got some slams and whatnot. I think it was a little funny moment, too, where Bronson Reed threw Sheamus over the barrier, and then Sheamus like comes up behind him like a ghost, and then hits him with the beat to the baldron. Yeah, these dudes were slugging it out, bro. Anyways, after a white noise, the Sheamus was down on Big Boy. And after a Rusev interruption to a submission move, we quickly get Bronson Reed asserting dominance and hitting a big tsunami splash. The guys scramble to break up the pin, and they are thwarted. Was Big Boy comes into the match. My boy, the top dog. Unfortunately, he's quickly attacked by Sami Zayn, who is literally shoulder pressed and thrown onto the announcer table. I don't get how you have a guy like this that's just sitting around running, being lackey for somebody else. It just makes no sense. Two-time Intercontinental Champion. He can literally beat up all the dudes that are vying for the championship. But, I mean, yeah, we're just letting him be the background character. And then as soon as we think that Bronson Reed's going to get an opportunity, he is thwarted by LA Knight. So there's a bunch of quick pops that we got. And as soon as Jey Uso pins Big Boy, we get Seth Rollins coming out. Now, there's going to be plenty of people that are going to argue about it online, saying that Jey Uso pinning Bronson Reed now takes away Bronson Reed's aura. At the end of the day, again, it makes no sense that these guys are supposed to be lackeys to Seth Rollins. They're supposed to be the muscle of Seth Rollins, yet they can't win anything on their own. And you would think that if these guys were placing winning on such a high pedestal, they could all just come out there like in unison, specifically in these multi-man matches where it's legal, and just interrupt and beat up people and win. But I guess that's too simple. But right before Seth gets to beating on Jay, you get Cody Rhodes out there, and for some strange reason, Seth stares him down and then leaves. So he came all the way out to the ring to whoop on Jey Uso. They had the numbers advantage, and then he just leaves. This is where I'm lost again. We then get a face-off between Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes, who are going to be facing off against each other in the ring like next week. This is the end of the show. Nah, I ain't gonna lie, y'all made me think about this again. Nah, it wasn't too bad. I'm not even gonna do that. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't a bad episode of Raw. Hopefully Liv Morgan as well. But you're gonna see where all this leads itself to be. Stay tuned to the next one.